All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we get into some of the lessons that we can glean from celebrities in movies, films, music, what have you, characters, if you will. Okay, and there's a reason behind it all. You'll find that out in the Junction. We'll talk about it there. Got a lot of current events to talk about. It's not current events / happenings in the LPDS universe, whatever you want to call it. Gear grinding stories. I don't know if it's current events, whatever you want to. Intro level stuff, administrivia stuff. And then we got a great Cage fact. And we might as well just get right into it. It's all coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. I think I'm looking at my screen right now, and I can't tell. I do this every time. I can't tell if there's a delay between the audio and video. If you guys don't notice it on the YouTube when you're watching it, it's either because I fixed the glitch in editing and post, or there was no glitch to begin with. I'm hoping for the latter. And not the former, because I stink at the former. But if there is a delay, if you do notice it, then it was something that I couldn't fix, and it was apparent, whatever. Anyway, hope you guys had a good week. Welcome back to the show that talks about nothing and finds the lessons and everything, and we have a good time doing it. I just got back from another work trip last week. Well, at the time of recording, it was within the last day or two. Two things about the trip. One, it ended up being a monumental waste of time for my team, because we went there to get some work done with some people, and those people were not there. And we flew from different states to be to this one location, and it was just a little frustrating. This is actually the first time I've ever dealt with flying somewhere to set up a meeting with people in person, like a workshop or whatever, conference, whatever it is, and then the person who lives in that area not show up. I don't know the reason. I'm going to give the person the benefit of the doubt. I don't want to dog on people in general that I don't know their story, because much of their story is unknown to us. And we can't judge people based on the 0.01% of their lives that we know. So it was just frustrating that we went all the way up there. But that's what you do. You'll live and learn, and you take the lessons out of it, as opposed to letting it incapacitate you mentally and emotionally. So I did that. I explored the area where we were in Ohio, and it was a good time. Regardless of this, I guess not regardless, despite this situation at hand. So there's a high likelihood we have to go back to that location again soon, hopefully after the holidays, because we are jam-packed the rest of the year here at the LPDS universe. So we'll see. But the second thing I got out of it, not a lesson, but another, how do I put this? A realization, I guess you could say. And this is not new. I talk about this with Creature a lot, famed guest of the show and brother, friend of the program. It's confirmed, no matter where I go, no matter what I'm wearing, what's going on in my day, what the situation is, where I'm physically located at a store, on a plane, in a bathroom, it doesn't matter. I am Mr. Approachable. That if there was a title to crown, if there was a Guinness World Record for the most approachable person, whether they like it or not, it's me. because I went on a 2-day trip. Okay. I got into the location Wednesday evening and I was out the door Friday morning. And most of my time was spent at the airport, to be honest. And I got approached and talked to by no less than 6 people on separate occasions. This was not like someone was talking to me and then people double dutched into the conversation. Nothing like that at all. It was no less than 6 separate instances in different scenarios throughout my 2.5 days being on the road of strangers looking at me, assessing me up and down, assessing the surroundings of the environment around us, what was going on, and making the proclamation that I have thoughts in my head, and this is the perfect guy to hear them. And let me tell you something. I didn't want to hear any of them. Okay? These were nice people. We had good conversations. I was cordial. I networked. I took those as opportunities to grow my network on the business end and also, hone my conversational skills to have captivating, responses, banter back and forth, fine-tune the art and skill that is talking, conversing. But these people's thoughts needed to stay as thoughts and not as words. That's all I'll say about that. I don't understand what it is about me that comes off as so approachable. As people see me and they're like, that's a guy that will listen to me and I'll feel heard. And maybe that's a good thing. And I'm not here to say, stop talking to me. I'm never going to turn away this stuff. Okay. Because again, it's opportunities for me to learn and grow and improve in some aspect in my life, whether it's making a new friend, understanding, someone's life and their take on the world that I can now put in my holster of how other people view things. It's opportunity to potentially get clients for Spearhead Leadership. Whatever it is, these are opportunities, so I'm never going to turn them down. I just find it interesting that no matter what I do, ever, even when at my angriest back in the day, when I would purposely try to make myself unapproachable, didn't matter. It did not matter. And this is not a brag. I'm not sitting here bragging like I am the most approachable man in the world. It is just a fact. It is what it is. Okay. I don't like it. I don't hate it. I don't know why, though. I just don't know why, what it is about this nose and physique and bald head and stature and fat ass and whatever that attracts people just to talk to me. Not bodacious babes to want to date me. Just people in the ether that want to get something off their chest and then be on their way. It's like drive-by opinions. And this is not, again, this is not lip service. It's proven. Outside sources have seen this in action. You can ask the creature. You can ask anybody in my brotherhood network, my close inner circle. Anybody who's around me in a public arena has seen it. Well, I'll be standing in a line. I'll be standing in a line to take a dump in a porta-john in a random parking lot. And I'll look one way and I'll look back the other. And before you know it, there's a guy or gal right there word vomiting their thoughts to me about anything. It's uncanny. Now, sometimes it's people I know that see me. Most times it's not, though. I'd say 99.99% of the time, it's strangers. And a lot of those times with those conversations, they end amicably. There's no names exchanged. It's just, I have a thought. You're the guy. You're the thought receptacle. It's written all over your face somehow. I'm going to give you my thought, and then I'm going to keep going. And that's it. They don't ask me my thoughts on the subject matter. It is, I am just a receiver of information for people that they need to get off their chest. That was the most exciting thing that happened to me on this trip. That multiple people approached me. It was a lady waiting in line. We were in the TSA line, which, by the way, Houston Airport, George Bush International, you got to figure it out. It's a great airport otherwise. I haven't had any other bad experiences as far as getting food there, walking around, getting to my terminals on time, whatever. But it's 2023. Figure out your TSA pre-check situation in all your terminals. Because you're the only airport so far that I've been to in the last 2 years that sometimes you have a TSA pre-check line and sometimes you don't. And then when you don't have the line, sometimes your TSA agents say, oh, you have TSA pre on your ticket. Just tell the person at the body scanner and you don't have to take your shoes and laptop out of your bag and you can go through normally. And then sometimes they're like, no, we don't do that here. One guy told me, he's like, we don't do that here. You have to be in your military uniform for that to ever happen. And I was like, buddy, in my 13 years wearing the uniform, I've never once traveled in uniform. And somehow I'm able to get through TSA pre-check without my uniform. And by just telling the people at the body scanner, I have TSA pre, and then showing them my ticket that says so. So they got to figure that out. The TSA in general has to figure out the standards across the board because depending on the airport, some people don't care if you have your laptops in your bag. Some people do. There's some people are still the old archaic 2001 reactionary tactics of take everything out, take your clothes off, elephant walk through the body scanner, and maybe we'll let you go. And then some airports are just like, yeah, just bring the bomb in. Nobody cares anymore. So we got to standardize, get it figured out, get it dialed in. We could be better than that. Otherwise, the most exciting thing that happened to me was the lady standing in the line with me. Of course, she's mad because we are on the side of the line where the TSA agent is a turtle, a snail when it comes to looking at IDs and tickets and letting people go through. And he would take frequent breaks to stand up and walk around and stretch and then go back to doing basically nothing. And I didn't care. I was going to make my flight. It was an annoyance, but whatever. This lady wasn't having it. And she made sure to tap me on the shoulder. She was standing behind me to let me hear about it. The entire 26 minutes, I timed it, 26 minutes we were on that short line as the people in the line to our left kept going through. We were staying put because this guy was so slow. 26 minutes to get through a line. And she didn't stop talking about the ridiculousness of this situation one bit to me, the entire 26 minutes. And all I said was, yeah, right? Crazy, right? Damn. This guy's slow. That's all I kept saying. I had on repeat maybe 4 responses to this lady and a head nod and a smile. And that's all she needed to keep the train moving. So please, somebody tell me. Look at me. Take a look at my body language, what I'm wearing, how I present myself, what is on my face, my facial expression. Give me feedback. Tell me what makes me the most approachable person in the history of approachability, so I can use it to my advantage, so I could dial it in and get, turn those people into profitable clients, maybe. Find the business side of the things. Anyway, moving on. Work trip. A lot of lessons there. All right, I want to touch on this very quickly because I want to say it here, and I'm not going to get into too much. I'm not going to get on a soapbox or on some political high horse or anything like that, but I have a question that I want to put out in the ether because I don't understand what's going on here. So everyone's tracking the potential World War III that we're funding with Israel and Hamas, with Ukraine and Russia still going on in the background and nobody seems to care about right now anymore. And we're posturing ships and sending money, and bad people are doing bad things and good people are doing bad things, and bad things are happening all around. It's a nightmare situation. And then I just saw this thing where the Pentagon announced that a U.S. ship, a cruiser ship, I think it was a cruiser, I don't know. I don't know Navy ships very well, so if I got it wrong, I apologize to the seamen out there. But a Navy ship shot down several land attack missiles fired from Yemen. What they are assessing, they were firing them towards Israel to shoot into Israel. Now, my question is, this is an overarching question, and I'll get to a little bit of the tinfoil hattery of why I'm asking this question. What is the U.S.'s obsession with Yemen and making them an enemy? And here's why I ask that, because we had nothing to do with them for a long time, and then all of a sudden, Obama said that there was turmoil going on in there and we needed to help the people of Yemen out because there was civil war breaking out and this and that. So he just decided to drone bomb the shit out of them and essentially ignited a civil war in there, and it became an absolutely unstable country. There's a whole lot more that goes into it. I'm very much paraphrasing. And now all of a sudden, in the midst of their own civil war that's continuing to go on, their own infighting, now all of a sudden that they decide that they're going to fire missiles over towards Israel to get involved in that circus act. By the way, if you did any research on these missiles, these land attack missiles that they have, their longest range is about 1,000 miles. That's like if they got a good strong wind at their back, they'll get 1,000 miles. Average is significantly less than that. The southern tip of Israel is 1,000 miles. So if they fired these missiles, it's likely wasn't anything to do with Israel. Also, they have their own wars going on. Why would they want to get involved with something they know that they have no business getting involved in? They will get annihilated. And then also, why would they use their garbage missiles like that, knowing that they wouldn't even reach the country if that's what they were going after? So it brings up a lot of weird questions. Why did they think? Why did the U.S. Pentagon say that they would think they were going after Israel? I don't know. I'm racking my brain trying to figure out what all the malarkey is going on in this whole situation. Because we got the Israel-Hamas shit. We got the innocent civilians getting killed at the hands of this war, whatever you want to call it, conflict. We're still under the table funneling money, secret monies to Ukraine to keep that war going. Meanwhile, we got wars going on here in our own country. Our economy's in the dumper. Chicago and Detroit you can't walk through some of the parts of those areas without getting stray bullets. Philly, New York City is being overrun by illegal immigrants and no police presence whatsoever. So crime's going on. LA, crime's going on. The southern border is a hot mess. And all our money is going to these wars, these conflicts. Why are we continuing to fund these? Again, I don't want to get on my tinfoil hat horse, but the whole Yemen specific thing is a big question for me, because it was a big question when we got involved with Yemen 10 plus years ago, or whatever it was, 8 years ago. And it's just everything stinks right now. Okay. Something is fishy with this whole situation. And I just want to figure out what it is. The whole thing stinks of conspiracy and meddling and secret reasons for doing all this stuff. Yemen would not get involved in this. They don't have the ability to. They don't have the desire to. It doesn't make any sense. The fact that we just said, oh, they're probably going after Israel, there's no evidence to actually back that up. The whole thing stinks. And I don't understand what our obsession with making Yemen this unstable entity is. It so we could go in there? Do they have some sort of like rare earth mineral that we could go and take on? Maybe they have oil reserve. I don't know what it is going on over there. But Obama and Biden have been obsessed with Yemen for a decade now almost. And it's just weird and strange, and it's not what the people need right now. You don't need more chaos. We're self-creating chaos, as if we didn't know that already. It's just something's very fishy with this whole situation. On top of that, as we move along, the New York Times is now in some hot water. Not really. It's in fake hot water. They should be probably in real hot water, but they have put out a fake story, a story about the hotel bombing that happened in Gaza Strip, that the Israelis bombed this hotel and killed a bunch of civilians, and talking about how they're bad guys for doing this and yada, yada, yada. And then we come to find out that the information they had was absolute propaganda and lies that they got from like a terrorist organization. And this is not me condoning anything Israel's doing or anything anybody's doing over there. It's all bad. But they did that. And then you come to find out that the guy who wrote that story, I forgot his name. It's a tough one to pronounce, so I'm not even going to try to butcher it, is a pro-Hitler Nazi sympathizer. And that's not just my personal opinion. I don't know this dude. I don't have an opinion on him. He's got posts on the twit from years back of him saying literally like, Hitler's a good dude. Like I sympathize with Hitler and the Holocaust movement and all this other stuff from like 2012 through 2018. He's got tweets about it. And then the New York Times responded with, yeah, we know he had these tweets. It's okay. We had a talk with him. We gave him a talking to, and don't worry. The journalistic integrity and the objective journalist workings of this guy are not going to be compromised for this story that we're having him do about Israel and Hamas conflict right now. Don't worry, guys. The guy who literally wrote how he liked the Holocaust and Hitler is not going to be biased against the Jewish people in Israel right now when he writes for our newspaper. So we're going to keep him out there and keep him writing. As if that wasn't a joke enough, Elon Musk decided to, quote unquote, punish New York Times by taking away their blue check mark on the twit. And now they're unverified. So I know realistically, you lose out on some stuff like analytics and some other things that you get when you pay for that service for being a blue check mark. There's some other stuff that helps business-wise and this and that. And this will probably hurt them financially a little bit. But it's just, what kind of vaudeville act are we living in right now where we have proxy wars going on. We have Nazi sympathizers writing news articles in supposedly reputable newspapers about Jewish people and the conflict they're in. And then their punishment is just removing their verified status on a social media website. None of that makes sense to me. It's all a clown show, folks. This whole thing has been an absolute nightmare of a clown show, and we're stuck right in the middle of it. I mean, what are we doing here? What is absolutely going on? This is why I want to be rich so bad, because then I don't have to care about this stuff anymore. It won't affect me because I can just rich my way out of any situation. So that's the goal. Be rich and escape the clown show. That's what we're trying to do here, because it's all ridiculous. And where are the aliens now? Why don't they, if they're watching us, come down and take care of this? You're watching a dumpster fire and you're not doing anything to help out. What kind of secret agreements did we actually make with you bozos and over there in Antarctica back in World War II time? Figure it out. Help us. Please do something, because we are going downhill fast. Absolutely downhill fast. It reminds me of the saying, this is an old saying, and I'm sure people have heard it before, especially recently. It's hard, what is it? Hard times create hard men. Hard men create good times. Easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create hard times. Okay, and while it's not completely black or white as far as the transition through that cycle, we are certainly in a cycle of weak people in this world creating weaker people to create hard times. Okay? And it's not, like I said, it's not completely black and white, because I have met some absolute savages out there, hard men and women that are fighting the good fight and are able to get shit done to combat the weak men creating hard times. But we're certainly in the shit end of that cycle, folks. And I don't know where it's going to go from here. We got Hitler fans, like Hitler fan club fanboys out there writing for newspapers about Jewish people, and that's okay for the newspaper. They're okay with that. That's wild to me. That's wild to me. What are we doing? This is the same newspaper that was dogging on Ukraine several years ago for being a corrupt government full of Nazi sympathizers in the country. And then they obviously pretended that never happened recently, because now they're pro-Ukraine. So now they got a Nazi, and a Nazi wannabe writing for them. None of it makes sense, guys. None of it makes sense. We just need the aliens to come in and take over, and then we can all go to sleep soundly, knowing that we're not in control anymore, because whoever's in control is doing a terrible job. Absolutely terrible job. Anyway, speaking of aliens, there was a story I just read that a space radio signal was picked up by an Australian satellite over the past week or two. This radio signal, it only lasted, like I think they said, about 1,000th of a second. It was a quick, what they call a fast radio burst. but it was a definitive radio signal, radio frequency signal, okay? Mechanical. It's not organic. That radio signals don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive radio signals do not come from the earth organically. These are man-created, or these are created by beings. They picked up this signal that, well, this is crazy to me. And there's no additional information yet because it just came out. The signal came from 8 billion light years away. 8 billion light years away, meaning that it came from a different galaxy, and it's so old, it came when the universe was about half the size it is now. Because I think they're guesstimating the universe is roughly between like 14 and 16 billion years old, something like that. I think there might be new estimates out there now, but over the past several years, it's been about 14 to 16 billion years old. So half its life, half the lifetime of the universe is when it happened. That's crazy to me. From a small brain when it comes to science and astrophysics and aliens and space discovery, whatever. On being a biologic created radio signal from 8 billion years ago existed, and we have proof now. It has made its way through the universe, and we've got it, and it hit us. That's unbelievable to me, and nobody's going to care about it because we have created wars that we're dealing with right now. But I care about it. I know you guys care about it because this is what you tune in for to listen to me talk about aliens and stuff. So that's a crazy story. I hope there's more information out there. I hope the Australian scientists put out some more findings on what they discovered and what they heard and all this good stuff, because that's crazy. That's essentially proving the existence of other life forms, because otherwise, how else would that happen? We don't know. So crazy stuff. All right, before we end things, this is a little bit of a grind my gear situation, and it also kind of happened in one of those like situations where I got approached by strangers that I didn't necessarily want to talk to. I was on a flight in the middle of one of the Astros Rangers playoff games. The ALCS playoff games, if you're not a baseball fan, the American League Championship Series is going on right now between the Astros and the Rangers. Maybe by the time you tune into this, it could be over. Who knows? But the guy is an Astros fan, and he kept giving updates to the people, mainly me, and the people next to him about the Astros-Rangers game, and he kept referring to the team as we. And I might have discussed this before. I might have bitched about this in the past. But why are fans saying we when they're referring to the professional sports team that they're a fan of? Now, you could take the positive route here and be like, oh, they just want they're part of this. They follow the team. They feel like they're a part of it. Everyone's included, all inclusive. Everything's hunky dory, hippy dippy, whatever. Got it. Cool. We could do that. Sure. But we also have to ask the question, what is the origin of that? Why do you feel that you can say we when you really don't provide anything whatsoever to the success of the team? Whatsoever. Unless we're talking about financial success of the team as a business, because you buy their merch and you tune into their games and you go watch their games at the stadiums and buy their $55 hot dogs. You can consider that being part of the team financially. But from the sports standpoint, the playing and the success of the team standpoint, as far as winning and being, winning championships and stuff like that, we as fans don't do shit for them. We just don't. Okay? And you can kind of prove it through like teams like the Oakland Athletics or even the Florida Marlins. I guess Miami Marlins now. Those teams get no fans. The Marlins made the playoffs this year, and nobody watches them play. And they were still winning games. The Tampa Bay Rays, their playoff game this year, their wild card game, had 19,000 fans in it, which was like the lowest in the history of a playoff game for baseball. Nobody is watching them, and they're good. They were in the playoffs. Successful team. So that further proves that fans are meaningless when it comes to the success of the team on the baseball field or on the court, the football field, whatever. So where do these people get the idea that they're a we, that they're part of the team in any way, shape, or form? Just because you bought a jersey at 3 times the price that it actually costs because you bought it at the stadium and it's 2 sizes too small because you've been eating too many stadium dogs and you don't exercise and follow the big 3, and you're sitting there saying, we stunk today, or we were awesome today. You weren't anything. Okay? You sat there with your stomach draped over your belt on the plane, dripping over into somebody else's seat, being rude to them because you can't keep it together health-wise, talking about we and how we're doing this and we're doing that. All you're doing is causing a disruption, fella. You're causing a disruption because, A, nobody wants to hear updates from you. It's 2023. We can all get the updates on our phones, just like you're doing it as we speak in the airplane. Okay, and B, you're not contributing to the team's success. Stop saying we. It is not we, it's they. Okay, if we're being grammatically correct with the pronouns in 2023, the Astros' pronouns are they, them, folks. All the sports teams that you follow. There is no we. There is only they. Stop trying to take credit when you didn't do shit for them. You are not part of the team. I am not part of the Yankees or the Giants, even when they're good and I want to be part of them. Actually, I'd more want to be part of them when they're bad because I have a better chance of actually being part of them because they stink. But, man, is that annoying to me? I don't know why. It's just very annoying when these absolute beta bitch boys try to take credit for the success of professional athletes. We're not even in the same league as those guys and gals. Okay? Stop trying to be in that league with them. And if you really want to try to be in that league, do something about it. Take action. Go try out for the team. Hit the weights a little bit. Learn how to catch a baseball. So that's all I got to say about that. Now that I'm all hot bothered, get into the good stuff. Step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by the Runner's Plug by Adam and Eve. Are you a runner and have been stuck on a long run when all of a sudden your stomach starts a gurgling and you don't want to get a muddy mess running down your leg, but there's not a bathroom in sight, nor do you want to take any Pepto to be constipated the whole rest of the day? Then get yourself a Runner's Plug from Adam and Eve. The Runner's Plug prevents bowel expulsion without causing constipation and bloating and comes in custom sizes to fill any size void that you may have with ease. Simply insert the plug prior to your training run, then pull it out with a smile on your face once you cross the finish line, knowing you don't have to mess to clean up at the end. So to get your plug today, visit www.muddymarathon.com and use the promo code BowelBlockade for a free bottle of their patented Astroglide Plug Primer. Have you ever seen any videos from marathons or Olympic races where the runners are trying to win a race and they have to go doo-doo and they just let it run down their leg because they can't stop, otherwise they'll lose the race. That's a nightmarish situation for me. I've always said this, probably on this show before, but I've always said this. If I were taken hostage by ISIS or the Taliban, they could do almost whatever they want with me and to me, besides obviously, taking a machete to my neck. And I'll just endure. If they want to break my bones, beat the crap out of me, whatever, I'll deal with it. But if they throw me in a cave or a room with no toilet paper and I just have to stew in my own nightmarish, shitty mess, I'm out. I'll talk. I'll take the last bullet I have in my gun and off myself. I'm not doing it. No matter where I go, what I do, the first thing and the only thing I think about most of the time is how can I minimize the risk of having to go dumpies outside of my domicile in a public arena, not having to do it in a public arena, wherever I'm going. And B, if I have to go, how can I make it as smooth and clean as possible? So when I'm going on training runs that are longer, I do one of two things. I either plan my run where the route has me returning back towards my house on a regular basis, and doing a bunch of out and backs so that I know I'm going to be back at the house and I could go safely take care of business if the time comes. Or I will Pepto up and also put a couple of wipes in my runner's fanny pack, my tactical fanny from Franny. But now I could just plug my hole and not have to worry about any of that. Because when I take a Pepto, a chewable, I'm plugged up the rest of the day, and it's not fun to deal with that either. So now I can just plug up and unplug when I'm done and be good to go. So thank you, Adam and Eve, for that. Anyway, the Cage fact. These sponsors are out of control. Okay? Cage fact. He has been seen filming another movie this year. I actually got this information initially from Mrs. Wetcat, who sent me photographic evidence of him on set of this new movie. So thank you for that, Mrs. Wetcat. It's called The Surfer. It's filming it in Australia. It's about Nic Cage's character. He is like a retired surf god, athlete, pro surfer, who goes back to his home, his neighborhood where he grew up or whatever. And apparently a surfer gang has taken over the spot that he used to surf in as a youth or back in the day or whatever. And they've made it a not savory place, and he has to go take care of business. Okay. And let me tell you something. Nic Cage is taking care of business. Okay. Just when you think he's going to take a break, his heater is done, his streak is over, he's going to go back into his cave in Vegas and just do karaoke and cool off with the movies. He just goes right back out there. He takes a quick hit of some sort of energy shot, adrenaline, a stack or two, a 5-hour energy, a hit of Coke, whatever it is. He goes into the dugout. He takes a quick breather. Maybe he does like what we used to do in college. I used to eat a Snickers and take down a giant Red Bull in between our double headers, and then we're right back out there. Now, I didn't even need it nearly as much because I didn't play. I needed enough energy to be able to clap for my teammates in the dugout. But this guy is on the heater of all heaters. He just can't stop making good movies. And if you think this is going to be a bad movie, think again, folks. Okay? Because when you're on a run like this and you're making a movie with that storyline, it's going to be good. Especially since he's just coming off of previous other action thrillers that have just hit and are about to release any day now. Not The Devil Knows You're Dead. Sympathy for the Devil with him and Joel Kinnaman, where he's the bad guy who kidnaps Joel Kinnaman and makes him drive him around. Then there's the one where he's the retired hitman or whatever, and he has to go save his granddaughter on an island, and he looks like Jimmy Buffett, and he's killing guys, and now he's got this. He can't be stopped, okay? The guy can't be stopped. He doesn't want to stop. He is just going to keep working every day, day in and day out, giving the people what they want until there is no question in anybody's mind that he is absolutely the greatest to ever do it. I've been saying it for years. You've heard me for years here on this show talking about it. And now it's only a matter of time before the rest of the world actually sees it and understands it and acknowledges it. He's the greatest to ever do it. He can't be stopped. He won't be stopped. He's the GOAT. NC, the great one. Anyway, that's the Cage fact. Be on the lookout for that movie sometime next year. All right, we'll move on over into the Junction and spin the logo up. We got some sad news in the LPDS universe and the cinematic universe, really, as well. Burt Young, the actor, passed away at age 83. I didn't get the details on how he passed, if he was sick or just old age or what have you. But for those of you not tracking, Burt Young played Pauly in the Rocky saga. Now, I've talked about this numerous times in the past. There is something inherently strange and abnormal about the idea of a celebrity death, an actor, a Hollywood actor's death, having a profound effect on somebody emotionally that we never met. Okay, because on paper, this is just a stranger. We never met them. We've only seen the people they pretended to be in front of a camera. Yet, their passing has effects on people like none other. Similar to the Swifties and their diehard love for Taylor Swift. Now, I like Taylor Swift, but the cult-like craziness of these Swiftie freaks is a little baffling to me. I guess the extent of how crazed they are for Taylor Swift is baffling to me. And I think that's just a product of the times and their upbringing and the fact that we are, in fact, in that cycle of weak men creating hard times. These are weak people, and this is how they react to admiring celebrities, I guess. So good for them. It's a little strange. All the cult-like things that happen on airplanes and trains and in movie theaters and whatever with the Swifties. But that's what I'm talking about here, is the effect that strangers have on our lives. And I've talked shit about it in the past, and I tried to empathize with it on the other side as well. And I said there will be certain actors that will have an effect on me in the same way, because logically it doesn't really make sense to me, but emotionally it does. I can understand why this happens because there's an emotional connection to this. And while thinking about this throughout this past week, and the death of Burt Young, it kind of brings up that lesson of sort of the reason why this happens to people, where we get all emotional about strangers. And it's not because it's weird that we're attached to the characters, like their fake personas that they played and lied about, as part of their job. It's because of what that character or what that person brought to the table and how it impacted our lives. Whether they know about it or not, whether they tried to or not, their characters, the people they played on film or the songs that they sing affected people's lives. And Pauly certainly affected my life in a way. I know you guys are tracking my obsession with the Rocky saga. You can look up in YouTube land at part of the picture here that I have. And Pauly Panino was a big part of the Rocky saga. And his character, can teach you a lot of lessons. And that's, I think, because of that, you get attached to these people, and it becomes more than just a fake character, a fictitious character in a movie on a TV screen or a theater screen. It's humanizing. You can connect. You can relate to, the human factor of it all, and that creates this bond and connection that can't be really explained logically sometimes, but it's just a feeling that you get, and you're kind of bonded to that character for life. Now, Stallone obviously is more so of a character that I bond with. I guess Rocky is the character, not Stallone. Stallone's the actor. Than Pauly was, than Burt Young. But Pauly, the character, was in all the Rockies. I haven't watched all the Creeds yet. I'm over, that's just, it became a money thing where they kicked Stallone off the project and all this other malarkey. So I'm not watching all the Creeds just yet. I haven't watched them yet, I should say. But all the Rockies Pauly is in. So he's just as part of the impact that the Rocky saga had on my life as anything else from that movie franchise. And you can learn a lot of lessons about the character, and that's what happened. Burt Young's character of Pauly, that fat Italian bum, had an impact on my real life, which is crazy to say. But he was sort of like, he was a wingman for life. He was always there for Rocky. Rocky was always there for him, certainly, probably more so than the other way. But his character and his relationship with Rocky illustrated a dynamic that people can relate to in real life. It wasn't as unrelatable as Rocky and Apollo Creed's relationship was, because then you have two athletic Adonises with their champagne problems and how they kind of go, work through them together, where they're both super rich and super jacked and fit and can get anybody they want, any girl or guy they want. And they have all the success and money in the world. That's a little less relatable, to be honest. And as much as I love those characters, as you know, that's just not as relatable as the Rocky and Pauly relationship. And you can even throw Adrian in there. By the way, talk about a glow up. Adrian and Rocky, from Rocky 1 through Rocky 5. I don't want to say Rocky Balboa or Rocky 6 because Adrian's glow up didn't last that long. Anyway, that dynamic that they had is so relatable, because that is the majority of the people around in this country, in this world, is we're just blue collar, regular people with real problems, trying to find ways to succeed in life and be happy and deal with hardships. And these were regular hardships too. These were normal things you see all the time when it came to Pauly's problems. He was a bit lazy, a bit of a bum. He always was bitter at other people's success, thinking that he should get those successes as well, even though he didn't put the work in. That's a relatable feeling, folks. You can deny it all you want, but we've all felt that way before, where we see someone succeed. Maybe we don't like that person for some reason, and we see them succeed, and the first thought and the first feeling you have is, why do they deserve that? I deserve that more than them. And then you got to kind of take the step back, the LPDS step back and figure it out. But that's a relatable situation right there. He's an alcoholic. How many people do we know in our lives and in this world that are alcoholics, that are plagued by some sort of alcohol abuse or issues related to alcohol? So many people. He got laid off from his job. That's a thing that's happening, especially recently, because our economy sucks balls. Happened in 2008. So that's relatable to regular people, the average Joe, the Joe McNutsacks of the world. Pauly. That's Pauly. His job that he did have was a meat packing plant. Blue collar job. A cog in the wheel, a 9-to-5er. Just punching his time card and punching out. And then he goes and hits the bar with the fellas to forget about his problems in life. And you've seen that story play out in real life time and time again. That's not new. And then he had this dynamic with Rocky, this friendship. They were pals. They were pals when Rocky was a nobody. Okay? And then Rocky quickly became a somebody. And even after Pauly got mad and bitter about it, Rocky still kept him around because he kept that sort of blue-collar attitude of, I'm not going to become bigger than the game. And they were still pals. And Pauly let him date his sister. And they got married. And Pauly was not a great brother all the time. You know, he had normal problems. He was not a great person all the time. Sometimes he was just a bad guy. But sometimes he was a good guy. He was a great friend. He was loyal. He was there to support his pal, try to accomplish his pipe dream, really, if you think about it. Nobody else believed in Rocky, but Rocky, Adrian, and sometimes sober Pauly. It even took a while for Mickey, the trainer, to believe in Rocky. So these dynamics that we see play out in these movies, Pauly, he went to Russia with Rocky and stayed in a communist cabin with no television for weeks to help Rocky train to go against Drago. He went out to the slums of L.A. in Rocky 3 when Apollo Creed was helping Rocky beat Clubber Lang and avenge the death of his trainer, Mick. And he was there to help Rocky pick up the pieces, really, that Pauly dropped when he made them poor. He gave up power of attorney and made them poor in Rocky 5. He was there. So the dynamics that you see in that relationship, the issues he had that he had to deal with, the relationship he had with his sister, the growth, the cycles of growth and decline and growth and decline, and that regular life, that very relatable life that a lot of people have dealt with in their own lives. All that stuff played out in this character. And it's almost impossible not to connect to that. And I think when the actor passes away, when Burt Young passed away, I didn't see the headline, Burt Young passes away. I saw Pauly, Rocky's pal, has died. And I think that's where the emotions come from. And again, it sounds nuts. It sounds ridiculous. Why are you even one bit sad that a stranger you never even met before died. People die all the time. And not a tear is shed for some of those people. Yet this guy, you're doing a whole segment on him. And that's because Pauly Panino died. Rocky's pal Pauly. Adrian's brother Pauly. That guy died. That guy with the relatable life, who had relatable feelings and thoughts of bitterness and jealousy and growth and learning and being loyal. That guy passed away. And I think that's what people feel. And the lesson here, it's not just for everybody out there. It's really for me too. There's almost two lessons. One is we can find in characters and separate the artist from the art. We can find in characters and movies and stuff things that can positively impact our lives. I've said this time and time again, and I'll continue to say it. The Rocky saga might be the most impactful movie saga on my entire life. And I've done episodes with it with Nikki Sticks in the past to kind of go deeper into it on why that is. But basically, I altered how I live my life as a kid and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to go about doing it based off of those movies. My entire life trajectory was impacted and directed initially by those movies. So fine, you can take those characters and find those lessons and find ways to allow it to positively impact your life. It's not just for entertainment. You can look at the surface of the Rocky movies and pretty much anything Stallone makes and say, this is just a good old-fashioned action movie. You could turn your brain off. You can just watch fighting. You can just watch him trash talking Clubber Lang and boxing and fighting Hulk Hogan and fighting the Russian and this and that and a bunch of topless, greasy guys going at it. Hunks running on the beach, whatever. But you got to give Stallone credit, or the other people that helped him write these movies. He created relatable situations that hit home for regular people and had an impact, and there was layers and depth to the character development. And sometimes you have to appreciate that, and you have to let that impact you in a positive way. And you don't have to just see the movie for the surface level punch 'em action movie that it was. And you can just let the relatability hit you. And you can learn from that and grow from that and take lessons from that, even in the unrealistic side of those movies. Because movies always have happy endings just about all the time. Almost always, I should say. And in real life, that's not the case. But you can still find the lessons and the ways that character development and people in movies can affect you positively, and you can learn from them. And that's what I did with Pauly. And then the second thing is the lesson for me here is really you can feel something when a stranger dies because that somebody impacted your life. That character impacted my life in a good way, in a positive way. And I don't need to be dogging on or judging people who cry and post online when a celebrity dies or an athlete dies or whatever, that, essentially a stranger, a famous stranger passes away, because it's likely that person, whether they impacted me or not, had an impact, a positive impact on the person posting and feeling sad about that death. And I get that now. And that is a lesson I learned. You know, you're always trying to learn and grow here. So it was a tough loss. The first I saw of it was not like a news report. It was Sylvester Stallone posted on his social media. There's a picture of him as Rocky with Pauly. And he said, "Rest in peace to my friend." And that's a tough loss because that character, being part of the most impactful movie franchise of my personal life, as crazy as that sounds, is now gone. Even though they're not making any more movies with, and I think one of the creeds Pauly was already passed on, but now it's real. And that sounds silly, but it's real, and it happened. It was a tough loss of the community. When we do the Rocky run, it will be for Pauly. When Nikki Sticks and I do that Rocky run and coming up here soon, it's going to be for old Pauly Panino. Yeah, and it's still fun. It's still a little funny to me. It's like, why is that a tough loss for you, dude? But it is. Burt Young was in a lot of movies. He did a lot of stuff in his life that was impactful, and he could be identified by any one of those things. He was in the Marines, I believe. He served his time in the military. Back in the day, when being in the military, you had to be a tough, real man, not like a mouse like me. And he did his time there for a few years. He was the chauffeur for Rodney Dangerfield in the movie Back to School. I think he was in the movie Mickey Blue Eyes with James Caan. He was in an episode or two of The Sopranos. He was in a bunch of stuff. He's an acclaimed, successful actor, prominent actor. I don't know the name of one other character that he played in his entire existence, his entire career in life. He is Pauly. When you see him on TV and anything else, there's Pauly. Oh, what movie is this? Pauly's in it? He is Pauly from Rocky. That's his existence to me. There's Pauly from Rocky. What's he doing in on TV right now? Not in Mickey's gym helping Rocky train. Why is he not at the meat market right now? He'll always be Pauly. So that's why it's a tough loss. Whatever. That's all I got to say about that. All right, before we go, the big three, the three pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, more genuine human being and spreading that goodness to the rest of the world. Number one, exercise every day. Do something. Physical, mental, or emotional exercise to get fit and healthier physically, mentally, emotionally. Whatever you got to do. Full workout, jumping jacks, go for a walk, read a book, pray, do a crossword, meditate, do breath work, whatever you got to do to get some sort of exercise in physically, mentally, emotionally every day. Got to do it. Number two, the hardest one to do, don't be a shitty person, be a kind person. When the opportunity arises to respond negatively to somebody or something for any reason, whether you think it's justified or it's not, just remove yourself from your negative emotions in that instance, take the LPDS step back, and just don't respond at all. Omit yourself from the situation. And that way, your existence, your brain and emotional state will not be involved in that negativity, and you can focus that on more positive, productive things in your lives. And you'll be better off for it, because when you live in the negative, you spiral downward. There's nothing healthy about it. And you're not helping the situation one bit by adding negative to the negative situation. You're just doubling down on negativity and shit, and that creates more negative for other people to have to navigate through. So just don't be a shitty person. Number three, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. people, experiences, tangible things, whatever it is that's good in your life. Think about what your life would be like without those, how shitty your life would be without those. And that will immediately put your brain in a state of gratitude and your mindset in that gratitude state, as opposed to taking things for granted and just assuming it's all going to be there tomorrow. Because guess what? It may not be. So don't take it for granted today, because you will regret that tomorrow. And if you do those three things, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, more genuine human being. And you can spread that positivity and goodness throughout the land. So now that's all I got, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, put on your notifications, and comment. Tell your friends and enemies. Call the hotline 202-670-1114 so that we can get your questions and feedbacks and advice on there. And I can interact with you via the hotline 202-670-1114. And we'll have a grand old time. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.